Summary and analysis. The poem Porphyria's Lover, which is one of the finest dramatic monologues by Robert Browning, first appeared in 1836 in the January issue of the Monthly Repository. Then it was published in 1842 in Dramatic Lyrics under the title Madhouse Cells, along with another poem, Joannes Agricola in Meditation. In 1863, it was separately published. The poem opens with the description of a stormy night. There was rain and violent storm. The strong and rough wind pulled down the topmost branches of the elm trees as if it was determined to destroy every bit of nature. The lake water was agitated. The speaker was sitting and listening to the sound of the fury of the storm outside. The fire in the fireplace had burnt out, and the inside of the cottage was in darkness. The lover was feeling dull and lonely, and so was his cottage. There was no sign of cheer. Then all of a sudden Porphyria came into the dark cottage amidst the rain and the storm. She shut the door, and kneeling by the grate she lit up the fire. The warmth of the fire brought cheer to the cottage. Porphyria took off her wet cloak and let down her damp hair. Then she sat down beside her lover, who is the speaker of the poem, and called him. When the lover did not respond, she put his arms around her and placed his cheek on her bare shoulder and murmured her love for him. Porphyria, in a low voice, expressed her deep love for the speaker. She confessed that she was so weak that in spite of all the strivings of her passions, she could not stand against the societal demands or the pride of noble birth. However, she had still dared to come and visit her beloved despite all the restrictions. She at the same time mentioned how, driven by passion, she had rushed to her lover, leaving behind the joyous feasting at her house. Porphyria had remembered her lover, and therefore she had braved the wild storm and rain and had arrived at the cottage of her lover. Now the speaker looked into the eyes of Porphyria, and he was certain that Porphyria loved him. In fact, she worshipped him. This sudden realization excited the lover and overwhelmed him with emotions. That very moment he felt that Porphyria belonged to him only. He therefore ventured to eternalize the moment. He decided to keep Porphyria forever. Hence he strangled Porphyria with her long yellow hair. He wound the long strands of hair around her neck for 3 times and killed her. Here comes out the psychotic behavior of the speaker, and the readers realize that the speaker is actually driven by an insane mind. Having killed Porphyria, the lover kisses her cheek and sits with her corpse throughout the night. He justifies this killing by saying that he was keeping Porphyria's wish. He too had gained Porphyria's love. Therefore now both he and Porphyria were happy, for they had found each other. The final 2 lines where the lover says that God had not said a word is extremely significant, because here the speaker is found challenging the very moral order which guarantees punishment for a crime. The speaker comes as a typical Victorian mind who questions the very existence of God and divine justice. This also proves that the speaker is aware of his deed and he did not murder Porphyria impulsively. Character Analysis Porphyria. When Porphyria is first introduced to the readers, she is found to be quite strong-willed and brave. She is the beloved of the speaker, the lover who had been waiting in the darkness of his cottage, immersed in a gloomy mood that had been enhanced by the violent storm and rain outside. As Porphyria enters the cottage, she closes the windows and goes about making a fire in the fireplace to warm up the cold cottage. She is portrayed as a typical Victorian woman who knows household chores and can make the house comfortable and welcoming for all. However, she is not a weak woman, for we find that she had defied the rules of society and had come to meet her lover. She had left the feast at her house, and shunning all merriment, she had dared to come to meet the speaker, braving the rain and storm. but the readers can feel that things are going to be serious when Porphyria calls her lover onto her side and the latter remains quiet. In fact, it is Porphyria who makes the move and takes the speaker's hand around her waist and tries to make him more intimate with her. Here, Porphyria is found to be weakening with her feelings. She wants to be with the speaker but is unable to go against the social norms. Here, the relationship between Porphyria and the speaker surfaces and the underlying tension is revealed. Finally, Porphyria surrenders herself to the speaker, or at least gives the impression that she worships the speaker. The lover too, now sure that Porphyria is his, decides to strangle her to death after a dilemma. The two lovers in the cottage, when it seems to be a tender moment of love, turns to utter violence and Porphyria is killed. The insanity of the speaker comes to full force and Porphyria is strangled to death. The readers get no real reaction of Porphyria. According to the speaker, Porphyria did not feel any pain and she looked beautiful even in her death. Thus, Porphyria is a victim of the insane violence of the speaker. Now we come to the character of the speaker or the lover. The speaker of this dramatic monologue is the lover who has a violent state of mind. However, his insanity and remorseless act comes out in the end when he strangles Porphyria to death by wounding her long strands of hair around her throat. The entire poem is presented through the perspective of the lover. This is the very characteristic of a dramatic monologue. Through the speaker, the entire scenario is presented. The atmosphere of rain and storm, the sudden arrival of Porphyria, her initiative to prepare the fire, and then her surrender to her lover, all the events are presented through the lover. He becomes sure that Porphyria worships him and therefore he kills her. According to the lover, Porphyria felt no pain. This is utterly wrong, for Porphyria did feel pain. But the psychotic lover, we all know, is lying and justifying his own misdeed. The speaker is someone who even dares to challenge God. He sits with Porphyria's corpse and is without a bit of regret. Hence, what seemed to be a soft romantic situation is an utterly violent condition narrated by an ill and criminal mind, which is asserting its power over its victim and challenging the very social and also religious order.